back of a postcard. No song that I could sing, but I could try for your heart. Our dreams, and they are made out of real things, like a shoebox of photographs and sepia tone loving. Love is the answer, at least for most of the questions in my heart. Like, why are we here, and where do we go, and how come it's so hard? It's not always easy, and sometimes life can be deceiving. I'll tell you one thing, it's always better when we're together. It's always better when we're together. Yeah, we'll look at the stars when we're together. Well, it's always better when we're together. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. Just might find their way into my dreams tonight, but I know that they'll be gone when the morning light sings and brings new things. For tomorrow night, you see that they'll be gone too. Too many things I have to do, but if all of these dreams might find their way into my day-to-day scene, I'd be under the impression I was somewhere in between, with only two, just me and you. Not so many things we got to do, or places we got to be. We'll sit beneath the mango tree now. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. We're somewhere in between together. Well, it's always better when we're together. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. I believe in memories, they look so pretty when I sleep. Hey now, and when I wake up, you look so pretty, sleeping next to me. But there is not enough time, and there is no song I could sing, and there is no combination of words I could say, but I will still tell you one thing, we're better together.
Welcome to our last virtual meeting, you guys. We are so glad you're here. Welcome.
Hey Mops Mamas, it's Jennifer. I just have a little Devo for you today. Rachel asked me to do a Devo, basically like when we first signed up to be co-coordinators, and I was like, you know what, yes I will, but let everybody else go first. Like, I don't need to go first. I think there's a lot of people that have good things to say, so let's use them first. And then when the quarantine happened, she asked me again if I would share, and I was like, yeah, just like let other people go first. And so now this is literally the last virtual meeting, and Rachel kind of suggested that I share the story that I shared with her, and I was like, okay, which is kind of crazy because I was looking at my notes, just jotted down a couple of notes about what I wanted to talk about, and I realized that it was like 6 years ago today that just kind of my experience with my dad's passing happened. And so 6 years ago, I was 7 months pregnant with my first daughter, Arabella, and I was on my way to a little baby moon birthday celebration. We were going to Branson, and we were just gonna have fun, you know. And I get a call from my brother that my dad, something happened, he's on life support, and you know, it's not good, and we need to get to Mountain Home, Arkansas, which is a couple miles past Branson north. And so they were like, okay, my brother's like, you need to come now because we need to make some decisions. My dad's mom passed away the year before, and my dad never remarried. Dad got divorced when I was 3. So really this big, huge decision, well, it really was left to his 3 kids. And me and my siblings have never seen eye to eye on pretty much anything our whole life. We are so different. I mean, just our world outlook, our temperaments, everything's so different. And there was a lot of fighting. There was a lot of trying to control people. I just felt like I had a family member come out of the woodwork to kind of just tell me what I should do, tell me how I should feel. And I just really needed some time to process and to deal with it kind of in my own unique way. And it was really hard for me to see, them behave in a way that I felt was inappropriate, or them not seeing things the way I saw them, or want to handle things the way that I wanted to handle it. But I just thought it was interesting when this whole quarantine thing happened. I just kind of saw kind of the similar behaviors. People were just kind of eager to kind of control the other, like, see it my way. I need to, it was frustrating. And it is frustrating to have so many different viewpoints and so many different behavior types. Especially I'm a very reserved person, so I like to take, and I try to be really positive. So with my dad's stuff, I was like, well, let's wait until we hear from the doctor, and once we get those test results back, then I'll respond, I'll react. We'll cross that bridge when we get it. And that's kind of like my defense or coping mechanism. And my brother and my sister were very different. My family members very different, and so I just had to kind of remember that we were all dealing with something really big and really heavy, and it was really hard on all of us. The scripture that kind of came to mind was in Matthew, where Jesus says, the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with your heart, mind, and soul. And I remember thinking, okay, God, I don't need to get in the weeds with anyone or stop someone from treating me a certain way, because they're just I can decide not to be triggered by that. I can decide to respond in a way that I can control. I mean, everything, it was just an illusion of control anyways. God was in control, and I think that's what I had to remember. God is in control. I have to trust him. And if God is in control, if I love God with my whole heart, mind, and soul, that's giving him this burden. It's trusting him. That's to love him, is to love him enough to trust him in this hard situation that I was going through. And the other part of that scripture, it says to love your neighbor as yourself. And so that's the other part that was kind of hard, I was frustrated with the different ways that people were responding to me. And I kind of feel like the thing that I learned, and a mantra that I kind of tell myself a lot, really is love, don't judge. So I can't really be in a place to love my brothers and sisters or my neighbors as myself if I'm judging them. So what that looks like for me is, if my sibling has had a big outburst during the whole thing, was not to just be like, they are so inappropriate, that is not okay, is to instead say, they're really struggling, and God, I just thank you that they see that you are in control and that you have a future and hope for them. And God, I just thank you that you make yourself real to them. I just thank you that they see you through this, that you turn it around for good. And I remember praying that God help me soften my heart towards my family members, that I saw them the way he saw them, and not the way that I saw them in the flesh, but just know that they're his kids too, and he wants the best for them. And so that's a gift of love, is to, I hope in when I'm at my worst, people aren't judging me, but taking the time to love me instead, and say a prayer for me, and give me a little bit of grace in that hard time. So anyways, I told Rachel that I feel like it's, I see some similarities, it's kind of, everyone was, especially in the beginning, it just felt like so much, just everyone is just coping and dealing with it in so many different ways, and just reminding myself, even though they're dealing with it in different ways, in ways that I wouldn't, or they don't see things the way that I see them, that I still stop and I don't judge them, but I love them. And if I, say a prayer for them, or say a prayer that God works on my heart so that I want to pray for them, because that's a gift of love whenever you can stop the judgment and instead turn it towards love towards your neighbor, because that's loving them as yourself and trusting God. I mean, even if people are acting crazy, God is in control at the end of the day, and what I do to stop them is really not, that's just a false sense of control, really. So anyways, I hope that made sense. But yeah, so I just have that kind of thing in my heart. When I think about people, I actually deleted Facebook off my phone because I was just kind of feeling like I was constantly being put in a place to see kind of people's more extreme personalities. Like, don't ever read the comment section because it'll hurt your heart, when you look at these people. But instead of like judging them, like, gosh, that person is legit crazy, is just like, God, I just thank you that you are in control and that you bless this person and that you help me see what you see and you help them see the same thing. So anyways, hopefully that was encouraging. But I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.
You guys, why do I have this impulse to like comment and add my take to every single person who talks? Is that like my 8 wing? I just wanted to say thank you, Jennifer, for that. It was really, really helpful and encouraging. And what I appreciate so much about Jennifer sharing is when she speaks, there's depth and wisdom there. So much wisdom. So seriously, thank you, Jennifer. Let me tell you just the tiniest little story. My mother-in-law and I are very different people. Like probably as different as 2 humans can be. So it's hard for me to get close to her, and I just have trouble connecting with her. And we've had some conflict in our 12-year relationship since I started dating my now husband. And I really, especially when my babies were born, my expectations of her relationship with my kids and what ended up happening was different. And so I just struggled relating to her. And one day in church, at Sanctuary Bushbed, said, he was talking about the same topic that Jennifer was just talking about, and he said to hold the hand of the person next to you and think about somebody in your life that you do not like and that you struggle to love, and remember that God loves you and God loves that person exactly the same amount as he loves you. And why? Ask him to show you what is it about that person that sets him on fire, that he is obsessed with. Let you see them how he sees them. And it's funny that he asked us to hold the hand of the person next to us, because we weren't really talking about the person next to us. We were just supposed to think of somebody in our mind. Well, the person standing next to me that I had to hold their hand was my mother-in-law. And so that that was years ago. And I still think about that all the time. And it has changed like my outlook, not just with my mother-in-law, but just people that, Lord, show me what it is about that person that lights you up, God. I want to know. I want to see it too. And I feel like he has been faithful to answer that prayer. And it's a really beautiful thing to get to catch glimpses of him in those around us, and especially when we catch a glimpse of him in those around us that we at first may not particularly click with, or we may think they're crazy. Anyway, again, I absolutely did not need to add that, but I just wanted to say thank you so much, Jennifer, for sharing your wisdom with us. Let's start with some really exciting announcements. Steering team signups. You guys, steering team is the reason MOPS works. They're the ones in the trenches, making the coffee, scheduling the nannies, leading the tables, and loving on everybody. Steering team is also so fun. It is an opportunity for deeper connection, more time with your gal pals, and a chance to make your mark on the group we all love. This year is a little bit different than most years, and no one knows exactly what it's going to look like. That is why steering team is more important than ever. We need you. So if you are ready to roll up your sleeves and get the job done, and also roll with the punches a little bit in an uncertain time, and if you have a heart that's wide open and full of love for mamas, come on over. Teamwork makes the dream work. In an attempt to streamline some of the enormous amount of work that goes into pulling off a MOPS meeting, assuming we are actually meeting at all. Y'all keep praying. We are moving steering team meetings from the one off Wednesday a month, like they used to be, to the Tuesday before the Wednesday of MOPS. This will be one extra meeting a month, but there will be childcare provided. MOPS weeks will be a little bit busier. Your 2 weeks off a month will be completely off. This gives us an opportunity to meet regularly and make all the MOPS decisions that we need to make, but also to work together to do the practical tasks that need to be done. Everything is more fun with friends, and a lot more fun with childcare. If you were on steering team before and would like to be again, yay! Just fill out the form again anyway, and that way we have everybody together all in one place. Easy peasy. We will post steering team positions and the link for the application in this group, and we cannot wait to hear from you. Okay, like I mentioned, this is our very last virtual meeting. What? We have loved this time with you all and are especially enjoying being able to connect with new friends and past MOPS sisters. What a joy and a tough time this has been. But now it's time for some summer fun, relaxation, and also we can take a break so we can plan next year. We do want to hold our traditional end of the year tea and testimony meeting though. This is going to be in late June, and it will be a socially distant, moms-only evening picnic. This will be a chance to actually meet while still keeping the safe distance, of course, and an opportunity to share and hear each other's stories and testimonies. It is going to be such a sweet time. I am truly looking forward to it. Registration for next year, 2020-2021 MOPS, yay, begins June 1st. That's so soon. What will MOPS look like next year? We aren't quite sure. So we understand if you are feeling some anxiety or trepidation about signing up for something, much less paying for it, that is a little bit uncertain. We are all getting some pretty serious life lessons in dealing with and accepting uncertainty. It's basically my least favorite thing in the world. We are still working with Pastor Janice, Children's Pastor Michelle B, and Sanctuary to make sure our plans seem good and reasonable, but basically we have contingencies. If life looks absolutely back to normal, if life is mostly normal but with some modifications, still pretty weird, or completely shut down. You will have an opportunity to learn about all of this when we roll out registration on June 1st. And like we mentioned last week, we generally start out our MOPS year with registration completely full and some mamas on the wait list, so you won't want to wait around. You know you're going to want to be in MOPS. We are the funnest. As an extra reminder to get it done while you're thinking about it on June 1st, if you are registered and paid in the month of June, you'll be entered in a drawing to win a prize. Yay! So don't miss out on that. Okay, now for the fun part. Every year, MOPS International puts a ton of work into developing a theme. There's a theme verse, sub-points to focus on, cool graphics, and all kinds of other things. We as Sanctuary MOPS don't pressure ourselves to stick to the theme in all things, but it does inform our thinking around the year and our decor and our graphic look and feel for the year. last year was based on John 10:10. I'm going to read it to you. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I, Jesus, have come that they may have life and have it to the full. The theme was to the full. Fear less, find your people, and have more fun. I think we definitely did all of that together, and I loved it so much. This coming year, the theme is Decide to Rise, and I'm already so inspired. I can't wait for you guys to see this video. Okay, this is President and CEO of MOPS International, Mandy Arioto, introducing it.
A friend of mine called me yesterday and casually mentioned that she was looking forward to her eyebrow waxing appointment the next day. And in that moment, I realized that if you are in a position where you are looking forward to an eyebrow waxing appointment, then you have hit peak mom mode. I mean, someone is pouring hot wax on your face, ripping out your hair, and you're like, I just love that I get to lay down and close my eyes for a few minutes. I mean, that just kind of sums up how moms are incredible, right? They are resourceful, selfless, and are able to live life at half the amount of sleep as everyone else, which is why I am convinced that moms are the strongest, most influential creatures on the planet. When I interview people on my podcast, one of the questions that I ask every time is, who is the person who has influenced you the most in your life? And 99% of the people I talk with have the same answer: their mom. And it isn't just the people who I interview. Economists agree that moms have incredible influence as well. Did you know that moms control 87% of household purchases? Not to mention that moms' collective spending power is over $5 trillion. We, as moms, impact the world's economy by where we choose to spend our resources. But it isn't just economists that see the influence of moms. Government leaders around the world agree as well. In fact, according to a recent study done by the UN, one of the most effective ways to raise a community out of poverty is to resource the moms. In addition, if you want to increase a country's GDP or lower their country's proclivity for war, the best way to do that is to put moms in a leadership position in government. In addition to economists and governments, major brands are even starting to believe in the influence of moms as well. A VP of marketing at Unilever says this: our mantra is mom is the new media. What makes moms so powerful is a tremendous reach and influence they have. Word of mom is a very real thing, and what we have found to be the very best way to impact the market is to mobilize moms. You are an influencer, whether you think it's true or not. Economists, global governments, marketers, the people I interview, and your kids all agree. Which is why this year at MOPS, we want to tell you two things. Two things that, if you believe them, will change your life and elevate your influence like never before. The first thing is that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You have been created on purpose, and in the Bible we read how God intentionally designed human beings and gave them value and worth. From knitting our bodies together to understanding the complexities of our minds and souls, extreme intention is involved in making the body you live in. But even if the Bible isn't your jam, then consider these scientific facts that prove how your body, with its interconnected systems and higher reasoning, is the most advanced structure in the known universe. It is a marvel of biomechanical engineering. First of all, you have a brain that is a supercomputer. It's able to hold 5 times as much information as the Encyclopedia Britannica, and it does all of its thinking and reasoning on the same amount of power as a 10-watt light bulb. And your skin is the ultimate touchscreen. Each square inch, so teeny tiny square inch of your skin, includes 4 yards of nerve fibers, 600 pain sensors, 1,300 nerve cells, 9,000 nerve endings, 75 pressure sensors, and 100 sweat glands. 3 yards of blood vessels, and 1 square inch of skin. Your eyes can distinguish up to 1 million color surfaces and take in more information than the largest telescope known to man. And your lungs have the surface area of the size of a tennis court in order to oxygenate your blood. And even at just 8 weeks of gestation in your mom's womb, you had the unique fingerprints that are the same ones you can look at right now on your fingertips. the same fingertips that no other person on the planet has ever had. You are uniquely and wonderfully made. And because of that, you have work to do. Meaningful work that was built into your DNA before you were born. Work that you are made for. But occasionally, when we become moms, we start to believe that our motherhood is a constraint that limits what we can do. But the thing we want to remind you of at MOPS this year is that motherhood isn't a constraint. It's actually a catalyst. In fact, in the ancient Jewish tradition, God appoints a woman named Deborah to be a judge over the nation of Israel. Not only was she a judge, she was also a leader, a singer, a warrior, and a prophet. So in other words, she was a little Beyonce, a little Oprah, a little Joan of Arc, and a little RBG all in one. And she ultimately helped save a nation from the oppression they were living under. And so how did she do all this? She says that she accomplished it because she arose as a mother. It literally says that in the Bible. She decided to arise as a mother. And what we know is that moms are influencers, which is scary for everyone around us because moms are 50% nurturers, but we are also 50% butt kickers who have no problem having hot wax poured on our face. Am I right? And so this is the year we are going to take Deborah's lead and arise as mothers. This is the year to accept that you have influence and to embrace the fact that your motherhood is a catalyst to the plans and promises God has for you. So what does it look like to be a woman who decides to rise at this moment in time? First, it means you do your work. There's a new book out by Dan Heath. It's titled Upstream, and in it he shares this parable that was originally told by Irving Zola. And here's how it goes. Picture that you and a friend are having a picnic by the side of a river. And then suddenly you hear a shout from the direction of the side of the water. And you see that there's this kid who's drowning. So without even thinking, you both dive in, grab the kid, swim to shore. But before you can recover, you hear another kid crying for help. And you and your friend jump back into the river to rescue her as well. And then another struggling child drifts into sight, and another, and the two of you can barely keep up. And then suddenly you see your friend wading out of the water on the shore, seeming to leave you alone. Where are you going? You yell to him. And your friend answers, I'm going upstream to tackle the guy who's throwing all these kids in the water. So often in life, we get stuck in a cycle of response, right? We put out fires, deal with the most urgent thing. We stay downstream, handling one problem after another, but we never make our way upstream to actually fix the cause of the problem. And it makes me wonder how many problems and frustrations are we tolerating simply because we have forgotten that we can fix them. And so doing our work means we get serious about going upstream to fix the things that are wearing us down and creating chaos in our lives. It might look like getting to the root of our fear and shame so that we aren't controlled by them anymore. An example of that is that for 40 years, my mom lived with a secret that she buried down deep because she felt so much fear and shame about it. She was terrified of what might happen if anyone found out that when she was 19, she put a baby up for adoption. But do you know what happened last year when she decided it was time for her to do her work, to go upstream and tell the truth? She got free. She found the son she put up for adoption, and he came to our latest family reunion where all of our kids played together, and we celebrated that we have a new member of our family. And my mom is now free from the chaos and lies that she lived with for 5 decades. Doing our work can look like a lot of different things. Sometimes our thought life needs a little tightening up, and so it might mean going to a therapist who can give us tools for dealing with anxiety or depression. It might be that you wake up in the morning and the first thing that you do is grab your phone. I did this for a lot of years. And then you look at the news or social media and it puts you in a bad mood for the rest of the day. So doing your work might mean creating a different morning routine that helps you start your day in a more positive way. Or maybe you schedule dentist appointments for everybody in your house, but you haven't been to the dentist in years and you're totally dreading it. Doing your work might mean scheduling that dang appointment and showing up even though you really want to cancel. Doing our work means we stop trying to skip the struggle because deciding to rise isn't about doing what we want. It's about doing what we need. It's about making the daily choice to do what is best instead of what is easiest. Things like staying on top of your finances, eating healthy foods, studying hard, scheduling a doctor's appointment, getting honest about the things that are causing chaos in our lives, creating meaningful friendships. Doing our work isn't necessarily glamorous, but it is an essential part of deciding to rise up. The second thing that we're going to do this year is chase joy. Now, joy is totally different from happiness. Happiness is based on external things that happen to us, things we might not be able to control. But joy is an internal decision about how we're going to respond, because we might not be able to control our circumstances, but we can change how we react to them. Actively practicing joy is how we fight discouragement. It's how we resist the urge to complain, accuse, or get offended. It is a gladness that's not just reserved for happy moments, but also for hard days that come our way. Joy creates a sense of well-being and contentment, and not to mention that sociologists say it's one of the top 5 most contagious emotions. So if we want to use our influence for good, joy is one of the most magnetic and contagious forces in the universe, something that people can't help but notice, especially the ones who are looking up toward their mom. So here is one way to practice joy and spread it to your family. So when you're seeing your family after being apart, maybe it's you're picking your kids up from preschool, or your husband or you are walking in the door after a long day at work, one way to cultivate joy is to put a smile on your face and to act like you are elated to see everybody. It doesn't matter how your day went or what you're doing next, or if you're hungry. For the next 2 minutes at least, pretend that you've been looking forward to seeing them all day. Now I know what you're thinking. That seems like a cheesy, tiny thing and hardly an earth-shattering revelation. But your attitude can set the tone for the rest of the day just by how you greet them. So really, it's not tiny at all. It's a huge deal because you do it every day. And there's a ton of research out there that says if you can infuse joy into the little things like greeting your family, that joy will transfer into the big things as well. Lastly, the third way to decide to rise is to get strong mentally and physically. To own the body and mind you've been given and build muscle and mental stamina so that you can do all the things that God is calling you to do with confidence. I call this living with a full body yes. Because occasionally in life, we hold back because we don't feel strong enough or because we're worried that we're going to look weird. But the thing about deciding to rise is that it's going to take a full body yes. And a full body yes means not just a commitment with our minds, but our bodies as well. It's like when a trapeze artist has to engage in a full body yes when she chooses to fully release the bar she's holding onto in order to catch the next bar that's coming toward her. And if part of her body, like one arm is still holding onto one bar, and then she tries to grab the other one simultaneously, she ends up stuck, having lost her momentum entirely, and she can't swing to the next. It takes full body commitment to live a purposeful life. But just to be clear, a full body yes can be done by everyone. My friend Joanna has 2 little girls, both with a degenerative disease that has them in wheelchairs. They're intubated with portable breathing devices, and life isn't easy. But do you know what her and her husband decided? They decided to say yes to joy and yes to full-bodied living, so they take their girls everywhere. Museums, baseball games, the beach, places where other families with these kinds of similar diagnoses would never, ever show up. Simply because Joanna and her husband have decided that even though it's difficult, they want their kids to really live, to enjoy their bodies and minds to the fullest of their ability. Her kids are basically on portable life support, and yet they are living with a full body yes. And so the question becomes, what do you need to do this year to become so strong that you can give a full body yes to all the new opportunities that come your way? This is your year to step into the truth that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You have work to do, and this is your year to arise as a mother because you have influence, and everyone from your kids to economists to global governments can see it. So to wrap up, I want to leave you with a blessing. If you want to put your hands out and just receive it. God, come and put back together anything that is broken. Refresh what feels weary and ready us for incredible goodness to come. Bless every woman listening right now with answers to the things that she's worried about. May you provide friendship where there is loneliness, restoration in marriages that are struggling, financial provision where there is fear, help for kids that are struggling, and healing of bodies that are hurting. And God, would this be a year of fresh starts and increased influence? And would you mobilize every MOPS mom in a way that exceeds her expectations of what is possible? Because you have declared that this is our time to decide to rise. Let it be so. Amen.
Thank you so much for coming to this virtual meeting and listening to our announcements, and I'm so excited about this next year's theme. If you would like to stick around and play some games in House Party, there will be a post where you can member off and be assigned a group to play some games and just fellowship virtually with some mamas for a little while. We love you all. We'll still see you around in this group, and we hope to see you at the picnic. Thanks. Love you. Good night.